Hi, good night, everybody. This is Carlette joining you. We're just trying to start early just to see if just give people time, basically, to see who will join us. And we did an early start just to see if it's working and the little time gap and everything. So we're just going to wait until 9 o'clock US time and 8 o'clock Belize time. So we will be heading off soon. It's almost time. Just one more minute for those who are early. Welcome. Thanks for joining me. And what we want to do is basically just say that if you have any questions that you want to ask me throughout the time, I'll try to answer those at the end. But you can either type them right here on Facebook, or you can send it to an email. Contact us at sistersofcharityfederation.org, and they would be sent to me. So we are looking forward to your comments and hoping that you will be able to join us and, just take the time. We had yesterday Sister Melissa that spoke about prayer. She did a very good job. Today I will be talking about fasting. And tomorrow we will be joining Tracy, who will be talking about almsgiving. And then on Wednesday we have Sister Liz, who would sort of do a wrap-up session of the 3 days and see how she can sort of put that into one thing. So right now it's 9 o'clock US time and 8 o'clock here in Belize. So welcome everybody, and thanks for joining us. I see some smiley faces and some hearts already. Wow, thank you. Thanks for joining us. I just want to share a little bit about myself. I'm Sister Carlette Gentle. I'm a Sister of Charity of Nazareth. I've been professed for 10 years. I first met the Sisters of Charity of Nazareth when I was 16 years old, believe it or not. And I'm now 37, so I've known them for more than half my life. I met them through cooking. I just love cooking. So when they brought the immersions group down to Belize for experiences, my godmother came to me and said, "Oh, you have to help the sisters cook." That's my passion. So yeah, that's how I first met the sisters, and they can't get rid of me now. So what we're going to do right now is, I'm going to just say a little bit. I'm from Belize. I'm born here, grew up here, and Belize is probably the size of Massachusetts. We're 8,867 square miles. We are a melting pot of cultures, which is beautiful. So you can see all different cultures. I am personally Creole. I'm a Creole Belizean. So being from the Caribbean, it's warm right now, and I know some of you all are experiencing the cold weather. So if I could send some of the heat over there, I would. But hey, you'll probably have to come and visit Belize to get some of the heat from over here. So again, thanks for joining us. I'm Sister Carlette. What we're going to do right now is, let me share my ministry first of all. I am presently working with seniors 60 and over on the south side of Belize. What we do is try to help them by giving them assistance with food, helping to link them to a clinic if they're not linked to a clinic. We offer transportation to and from their medical appointments, minor house renovations. We also link with hand-in-hand ministries, if you all have heard of that. And then we also have a support group, which is one of the biggest things that we do, where seniors could basically just come out and interact with others, just to have that socialization, that human aspect of love and touch and communication. So I've been doing that for the past 3 years, and I really love what I'm doing. At present, I'm going to be talking about fasting. And what I want to do, first of all, is to just allow you to bring yourself in that space that you are. Just take a minute and, think of your surroundings where you are, block out the noise, Block out all the stress of the day and just bring yourself to this room. What we'll try to do is just to take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Again, a deep breath in and a deep breath out. One more time. Deep breath in and a deep breath out. Just close your eyes and bring yourself into this space, this time. Be mindful of your breathing. One more time, a deep breath in and deep breath out. And as your eyes continue to be closed, I'm just going to start off with a little prayer. God of all those who yearn for a glimmer of assurance on the long journey home to you, come with a vast storehouse of renewed dreams, hopes, and peacefulness. God of hope, come, enter into my memory and remind me often of the yearning of the people of history. Stir up stories of how the ancestors hung on to your promises, how they stole hope from tiny glimmers about you, passed on from age to age. Help me to hear the loud crying voices of the prophets who proclaim that a new age would dawn. God of hope, come, enter into this heart of mine, which often loses itself in self, missing the message of your encouragement because I am so entangled in the web of my own whirl of life. Enable me to not lose sight of the power of your presence or the truth of your consolation. God of hope, come, enter into the lives of all those I hold dear, the ones whose lives are marked with pain, struggle, and deep anxiety, those whose lives bear ongoing heartaches, those whose difficulties threaten to overwhelm them with helplessness and despair. Come and gift them with a deep belief about you and your never-ending faithfulness, and companionship. God of hope, come, enter into every human heart that cries out for a glimpse of your love, for a sign of your welcoming presence, for a taste of your happiness. Be the one who calms the restless and gentles the aches of the human journey. God of hope, come, enter into this time with the grace of your joy and laughter. Fill faces with smiles of delight and voices with sounds of pleasure. Let this gift come from deep within. Replenish all with the joyful blessings that only your peace can bring. God of hope, come. Come be the morning star in our midst, the light that can never go out, the beacon of hope guiding our way to you. Come into our midst and make of our lives a home where your everlasting goodness resonates with assuring love and vigorous hope. Amen. So just stay right there with that quiet for 1 minute and think of the words that I just read. The God of hope. Okay, thank you all for joining me in that opening prayer. It's just nice to have time to be quiet, to try to leave the day behind and just have some quiet time with you and God. So at this time, we're going to be looking at fasting. And when I used to think about fasting and Lent, actually Lent as a child, I used to dread it. I used to always think, oh my gosh, Lent is coming up. There's no kind of sale. They don't have a Lenten sale. There's no like big decorating for Lent. There's not like the decoration of the house and anything. So in a sense, I dreaded Lent. All I thought of was, the sorrow that came with it and the anguish and the pain Jesus went through. And it just seemed like it was, in a sense, dreary. But trust me, I've grown from that. And what we want to do is to basically see how we can look at Lent and fasting. I know several of us are used to fasting being the time where, you abstain from food. And actually that's what we know. It says that it's a religious observance that's found in both the Old and New Testament. So when we look at it, it used to be, staying away from the chocolate. I love chocolate. So staying away from chocolate or giving up the sodas or the drinks, when you think of all that you can give up for Lent is what we sort of gear towards, which is great because that's what we're used to. So it's like I'm saying, oh, I'll probably stay away from carbs this Lent. But how do we look deeper into that? How do we go a little bit more? So what I want to look at today is basically focus on fasting as bringing things into harmony with each other. When things is not in harmony, you can tell in our bodies, the earth, in the world, everything is sort of chaotic. How do we become attuned to that? And then in a sense say, okay, what can I do with my fasting in order to make my body better, in order to make the earth better, in order to make the world better? So we're going to try to get attuned to this fasting and see how we can help to do that and help the world. We're going to take a reading from Isaiah, and it's Isaiah 58. So you all have probably heard it. It was used last Friday after Ash Wednesday. So it's Isaiah 58. I'm going to take from 6 to 9. So I'm going to read this slowly so you can hear it, and then I'll pause, and then I'll read it again. So Isaiah 58, 6 to 9. This rather is the fast that I wish, releasing those bound unjustly, untying the thongs of the yoke, setting free the oppressed, and break every yoke, sharing your bread with the hungry, sheltering the oppressed and homeless, clothing the naked when you see them, and not turning your back on your own flesh. Then your light shall break forth like the dawn, and your womb shall quickly be healed. Your righteousness shall go before you, and the glory of the Lord shall be your rear guard. Then you shall call, and the Lord will answer. You shall cry for help, and he will say, "Here I am." So let's just pause for a minute and try to think of those words. I will read it again. So if there's something that jumps out and you try to hold on to that so you can go back to it later. So Isaiah 58, 6-9. This rather is the fast that I wish, releasing those bound unjustly, untying the thong of the yoke, setting free the oppressed, and break every yoke, sharing your bread with the hungry, sheltering the oppressed and homeless, clothing the naked when you see them, and not turning your back on your own flesh. Then your light shall break forth like the dawn, and your womb shall quickly be healed. Your righteousness shall go before you, and the glory of the Lord shall be your rear guard. Then you shall call, and the Lord will answer. You shall cry for help, and he will say, "Here I am." Isn't that a beautiful reading? I really think that if we think of that, we take on that fasting. So what is described here basically is a fasting from injustice. It's a fasting from oppression and social harm. And it's a fasting that helps to bring things into harmony. If we fast in that way, think of how the world could be. We're trying to bring things into harmony with each other. So we are all invited to change patterns in society so that the basic human needs can be met on a daily basis. And how am I going to explain that today? So let me then ask, how can we use your fasting to help bring about harmony within ourselves, the earth, and the world? So I'm going to use as a prayer, I consider it a prayer, called Fasting and Feasting by William Arthur Ward. And what Mr. Ward says is that Lent can be more than a time of fasting. It can also be a joyous season of feasting. Yeah, we're going to be feasting during Lent. So Lent is a time to fast from certain things and to feast on others. So that's what we're going to be focused on. So the first one, I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm going to take a couple of them and try to wean them out and, share some stories from my life also to explain them. So the first one he has is fast from judging others and feast on Christ living in them. Imagine if we did that in today's society, what it would be. I know I personally judge people. Sometimes you don't even know them and you're judging them before you even, get to know them. So when we take away the judging And then you look at that person as saying, you know what? Christ is present in that person. How do we want to treat Christ? And I think the way how we would want to treat Christ will then come out in the way how you would treat that person instead of judging them. Fast from emphasizing differences and feast on the unity of all life. Yes, we are different. We come from different cultures, different backgrounds. We have different practices. How can we look beyond that? And then again, differences is great. If the world was made up of just one, Sister Carlette, oh my gosh, it would be a horrible world. Because we all have to grow. We have to look at ourselves and see how we can then take that difference from somebody else and let it complement the gift that you have. So everybody has their different gifts. And when we do that, that unity will then come from all life source. It will build up, it will, then come in harmony where we can then move on into a world that would be so much better to live in. Fast from restless anxiety and feast on gratitude and peace. Sometimes being anxious, we do it so often sometimes that we don't even realize that we're doing it. Trust me, getting ready for this video, I was a little bit anxious, but this is the first time I'm doing this. This is the first time I'm doing like this whole session on Facebook Live. And hey, I'm like, oh my God, suppose I make a mistake, what will I do? But then when I stopped and paused and said, okay, God, this is all in your hands, the gratitude comes in, and I know that I have the support of my sisters. I know that I have the basic love and care of my friends. And, I can see some of you all, posting already that your support and your I see the little hearts and the little, the little thumb going up there. So thank you. It's all in, we're trying to see how we can be in harmony with each other. So the gratitude and peace from that, if we try to stay away from the anxiety and feast on that gratitude and peace, I'm sure we would, try to make this Lent more durable. Fast from anger and feast on patience. Sometimes where I see some of the most angry people, including myself sometimes, it's in morning traffic. Have you ever been stuck in morning traffic? It becomes so difficult sometimes. You're just like moving like an inch at a time, and then somebody cuts in front of you and it's like, hey, what's up with that? And then you hear the shouting and whatever. Suppose we were calmer, I was like, oh, sure, come on in. They say if you give somebody a way, there will probably be somebody else that will give you the way later. So if we practice that and practice patience, one day in the bank, I was waiting and the line was long and I'm like, okay, when is this going to finish? And a woman say, I stopped worrying about it. I just pray. And I look at her and I was like, see this long line ahead of you? And I stopped to think, why build up all that frustration, that anger? Yeah, I did it once and it was unbelievable. It's like the line moved faster, believe it or not. But yeah, so to try to stay away from anger, fast from anger and feast on patience. Fast from complaining and feast on appreciation. This is one I know that I definitely have to work on because I don't complain. I try not to complain, but sometimes when, I love to clean and I'm sort of a little perfectionist when it comes to that. So if somebody's cleaning and they miss something, I'll be like, didn't you see that? Yeah, it's right there. You could have cleaned it. But then you start to think, okay, all right, Carlette, leave it be. Appreciate at least that they're helping to clean. So I'm trying to see how I can then practice that, not complaining, but appreciate the gifts that somebody else is helping me. Fast from negativity and feast on affirmatives. Imagine if our news did that. I don't know if you noticed, but every time you put on the news, it's like the deaths, the murders, the car crashes, all of those are first. So imagine if the news started off with affirming people, the great work that people do on a daily basis. If the news focus on that, and then later on put, whatever else happens, I wonder what the world will be like. We will be able to see more of the positives, and then, that will sort of hopefully overshadow some of those negatives. So sometimes I don't even want to watch the news because I know what's coming up first. But, to stay in reality with what's happening with the world, we do have to. So in a sense, how can we in our personal lives stay away from the negatives and just try to affirm people more? That will then build their self-esteem. Then we would, in a sense, you're building up the self-esteem and the power within that person, which will make them feel better. And then they'll treat somebody else better. And then it's a ripple effect in order to build unity. Fast from self-concern and feast on compassion for others. Today's world is more of a me world. I don't know if you notice, it's like MiFi, it's a selfie, it's an iPad. Most of the stuff that's coming up is for me, me, me. How can we look beyond ourselves and look out to the other? Sometimes if we look out to the other, we'll be amazed at the situation that we're in and how good we have it. When you look out to others, you can then see that, the world is bigger than me. And how can I then help somebody else in order to, let them see it's not only about them either. And I guess the more that we do that, the ripple effect continues. And we can move on from there saying, okay, what can we do for others? And instead of having a narrow path, it will then split because then you have more people then looking out. Fast from discouragement and feast on hope. The prayer that I opened with is really from Joyce Rupp, and it's called a prayer of hope. So discouragement, we cannot live life without it. It's going to be there. But the thing is, if we continue to focus on the discouragement, we fall and we stay down there. That's what makes it difficult. Now, if we look ahead and see the hope in front of us and we get up, we brush our knees off and say, okay, this happened, I learned from it. How can we then move on in hope? And then fast from idle gossip. Feast on words that empower. I don't know if you all have ever played that game where you are all in a circle and somebody starts a gossip in the beginning and it goes around the circle, and at the end, it ends up being sometimes a totally different message from what was said in the beginning. I wonder, that's how gossip works. There's something said, and then somebody shares the story, but they need to add a little juice to it, so something else is added. By the time it reaches a third, fourth, fifth person, it's a totally different story. So imagine if we fasted from gossiping and try to empower that person. Look at somebody and say, you know what? I love what you're doing. You are excellent at your job. I wish I could do it that way, but thanks for sharing your gift. That is a total opposite of gossiping about somebody and bringing them down. So how can we then look at it as empowering? And that empowering builds unity, and that unity brings harmony. Fast from the pollution of noise and feast on silence and solitude. I thought that I would have, which I did. I started with just quieting self. There's a lot happening in our world. There's a lot happening in our life. But how can we come into today, every day, and just have that little time of quieting. Take away the noise pollution, just take a couple minutes sometimes. I try to take 15 to 30 minutes at least in the morning to say, okay, God, this is your time and my time together. And trust me, sometimes when I miss it, I know, because I can be, so irritated at the least something. So sometimes I know it's like, oh, I didn't pray this morning. And just taking that silent time, that quiet time, brings you into that oneness with God, into bringing in yourself, getting to quiet yourself and getting attuned. It helps to bring you and God into that quiet time. And the silence sometimes is marvelous. I know sometimes it's hard to get when children are running around. I have nieces and nephews, when they're around, it's hard to get some quiet. But early in the morning, when they're still asleep, how can I fit that time in? And you'll be amazed at how well your day goes after that. So as we work on bringing harmony to ourselves, the world, the earth, we continue to pass on God, the God of hope, to others. And I hope that, that helps a little bit. There's a lot that can be said about fasting, but I thought I would focus on some of these and see how it can help in some way. I have one little closing prayer. I've been seeing all the little icons flying across my screen. I'm thankful. But I am also grateful for your time with us. I know it's only 30 minutes. 30 minutes really went by fast. But I also want to say, thank you for taking the time for the quiet and for the reflection. I'm just going to end with this little prayer, and then there are some questions that came up that I'm going to go through in a little bit. I have sister helping me here, so she jotted down some of the comments and some of the questions that people have. So again, let's just take time to bring ourselves. I know there was a lot that was said. Just take 1 minute to think about some of what was said, what you want to hold on to and what you want to take with you. Just take a little time. Always mindful of your breathing, because there was a lot that was said. Or words have been spoken, or wisdom exchanged, and questions arise that cannot be tamed. We inhabit a mystery that's deep and profound. The ark of creation rests on holy ground. So rest now, the words, while the echoes endure, and come home to the silence where wisdom is pure. And wait in the shadows with light seeping through. Yes, wait on the Spirit, the source of the new. In silence, the echoes can be held afresh, even in those times when the Spirit is crushed. And the flickering wick can be fanned into flame, while the Spirit of silence re-echoes our name. Amen. So I know that was, so a little time together. Again, I'm glad for all who joined us. There is also, we're doing this for, even some women that are looking at discernment. So at this point, they consider me one of the young sisters. I always laugh at that because young sometimes in people's eyes are so different. So it's, what kind of advice would I have for somebody in discernment? That's one of the questions here. Follow your heart. When I first thought I wanted to be a sister, I told my mom, and she was like, well, if that's what you want to do, go try it out. And my friends were like, girl, are you crazy? You know what you're going to be missing out on, but that even though they were saying that question was still there. And so I followed it. I followed my heart. I followed God's desire. And look at me now. Well, I met the sisters when I was 16. It's like almost 21 years ago. Now I'm saying that I really feel older. But when I think of it, I really love what I do. I love my community. I love the sisters that I interact with. The federation with the, collaboration of sisters is awesome. So I really do think you should follow your heart's desire if there's any questions that arise. I'm looking at my screen here just to see if there's any questions that somebody posted. Oh, hi, Connie. Hi, Carolyn. You see Rosie. What advice do you have for somebody in discernment? I just answered that. Thank you, Rosie, for your question. Okay, there's somebody that posted, you said to fast from discouragement and feast on hope. Where do you find hope? Let me just share one of the stories that I have. I work with seniors, and they're living in Southside. It's gang prone. It's where most of the population are in poverty. And I work with our seniors. And on a daily basis, when I meet with them, there's one woman that I visited, and I was just getting to know her. Somebody just told me that, there's this woman I should visit. She needs food and stuff. So I took a bag of groceries with me, but I didn't take it in with me when I went to visit her inside. And just sitting and listening to her, she was like, oh, thank you, God, for this beautiful day that you gifted us with. And she was praising God all the ways. And, there was one question on my survey that I asked, and I said, how many meals do you eat for the day? And she said, to tell you the truth, sister, I don't even have salt in my house today. Salt. There's no salt. Believe it or not. Usually if there's anything else, you have salt. She said, I don't even have salt today. She said, but you know what? God will provide. I have hope that God will provide. And I told her to just, I said, just wait here 1 minute, I'll be back. So I went to the car and I got the groceries. And I took it to her, and she was like, you see, I told you, God will provide. And my seniors continue to teach me on a daily basis. Sometimes when I want to give up, they were like, no, sister, you can't. You got to have hope. You got to have faith. So trust me, they teach me hope every single day. And then coming home to my community who continues to support me on my journey, they give me hope. I'm not in this alone. And then just taking that time with me and God, it really shows that I'm really not in this alone, and I cannot look at that, I can't look at it that way anymore. So yes, so thanks for that question. Oh, hey, Natalie, thanks for watching. Romina, thanks. Thank you, Judy. I see Linda and Claire and Liz also watching. Thank you all for joining us. I know it's over my time. If you all need to go, I'll just watch the screen. I think everybody has sent in their questions. I really want to say thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for your support and your care, and also for taking the time out to be quiet and basically see how you can come in harmony and unity with yourself, with the world, and with the earth. Thank you. Bye.